So, good afternoon, everyone. So, we are in the second part of the third module, risk analysis. So, we have already seen what is the risk management process. There are 7 steps of the risk management process. So, you can find out there is first step for risk management is the establishing the context, and then we have risk identification, then risk analysis, risk evaluation, risk treatment, then it's a monitoring and review, and the last one is the communication and the consultation. Right. So why do people go for risk analysis? So that it is like we go for risk analysis so that we are able to identify the nature of the risk. Okay, the sources which have caused the risk, from where the risk has been caused, then the causes of the risk, and if it is identified in an earlier stage, so what we can do, we can reduce the impact of the risk. Okay, so in that is why we find out the that is why we go for the analysis of the risk. Okay, because I just keep on mentioning these things that it's not possible for an organization to completely remove the risk, but yes, they can remove that they can reduce the impact of the risk, right? This risk. Hmm. Now you are see the diagram you are seeing is according to the ISO 31000. Okay, the risk management. So basically, it's a risk assessment process. You have already gone through it from the first module, the risk management process. So these were the 7 steps included. Though I don't know why it's mentioned here 5.3. It is not 5.3. Okay, it's like the risk management process. Whatever the 7 step process we studied, it's the risk management process. Now let's just check. So first is the determining the existing controls. So we have to find out the procedures for handling the risk. So just I told you, you have to think the what how you will reduce the impact of the risk. So you have to think of the procedures, the controls that needs to be taken by the organization uh, for handling the risk. For example, you can like in case suppose in your organization fire broke down, so in that case, what will the employees do? If you people are not informed, if the employees of the organization are not employed, like in case of sudden fire broke, what the people will do? People will keep panicking and they will keep on running here and there, which is not safe, right? Although in every organization fire extinguishers have been installed, it's give in like when they give training also about the organization, they do inform a drill is done so that in such kind of situation people move to certain direction and then they can accumulate in the same area so that it is safe. Like we can take a in that case like risk can be reduced. So if you are informed before such if the fire broke down suddenly, what you should do, right? But if you are not informed about it, you will be keep on panicking and people will be jumping off the building. So like some others will be like using the lift, but like they will have lots of situations which is not like suitable to do, right? Another situation can be, suppose you are having chemistry lab. Suppose I hope everyone is science student, so probably you know that this chemistry labs are very risky. Okay, so this lab assistant should know how to handle in what experiments the students are working on, so whether it's safe to use or not. So all for this purpose, it is required that the lab assistants are well trained to handle the students, okay, to handle their laboratory, so that the students when they work with dangerous acids, right, or they can avoid the risky situation. Okay, but sometimes obviously exceptional happens, and in that case like safety cannot be taken into action. But the thing is that in most cases we can take the consideration, we can avoid the risk if our lab assistant or the lab persons are trained, right? So this is mainly the case when it comes to our chemistry lab practicals. We know it's like quite risky as the acids are very hazardous. Okay, so next is we have the management part also. You can think in the existing controls. If the management, we have studied about the communication. If the management review and monitor the risk completely, so in that case also we are able to, because they have already reviewed the controls, they have reviewed the processes, so in that case also we can avoid the risk. Okay, next is determining the likelihood of risk. So in this step, basically the probability of occurrence of the risk is determined. So there will be several ways that the probability we can determine the probability. Now the determination of the likelihood, that is the probability of the risk, will help in accurate predicting. So if you know what is the probability that the risk is about to occur, just now I gave you an example of the chemistry lab. So I just told you that we can avoid the risk by having a trained lab technicians who are like watching the activities of the student so that the student doesn't commit any mistake. Okay, so what is that? Still we have all the measures, safety measures, still we don't know, right, when such kind of situation comes in, right? So in that case we have to think of the probabilities, so it may be 0.01%, but we have to think of it. Then also next step is to determine the consequences. So we have to find out, like, if some accident happens, okay, even after taking so much of measures, if the accident happens, so what will be the possible consequences, it determined in this step. And then it is assigned a level, such as whether the risk will be assigned to a such level, whether it is high, low, or medium. So in that case, generally when your lab technicians are trained, and I'm giving you a chemistry lab experiment example. So in this chemistry lab experiment, so if they people are trained and they know how to handle it, and they are like monitoring the students how they are doing their research or works, the experiments, so what happens is the level of risk will be obviously very low. Even it's very possible, that is very much possible, that your hand gets burned with a sulfuric acid, but that burn will be very much less if there was no proper monitoring is there, like what your students were there, because being students, they have all the curious minds, right? They will be adding, like, mixing two acids together, and it may right to like lead to like even destroy the lab experiments, and they are like cause, it may like cause to loss a human life also. But when you have a proper monitoring system, so what happens is that the risk gets limited to minimum, very low. So just an example is that, which may, if you have a trained technician, it may be possible that your life risk may not be there. Yes, probability of burnt is very much possible. And last is the estimate the level of risk. Just now, when we determine the consequences of the risk, we assign some number to it. So we assign a level to it, like whether the risk will be high, low, or medium. So based on the risk analysis here, consequences, we will like level the risk and we'll give a risk number to it. Okay. So basically, a number will be assigned to the this consequences. So based on the risk number ranges, the risk level will be determined. Okay. So these are the few questions you can see, like under which phase does estimating the level come in the risk management process? Can anyone tell me? It's very easy, right? Under which phase does the estimating the level? It's obviously risk analysis, right? Now, the 4 steps in risk analysis are determining the exit controls, the risk likelihood, the risk occurrence, and the last was estimate a level of risk. Okay, just now we have studied this thing. Next is, based on the risk analysis methodology adopted, the dash is determined. The level of risk is determined. So, now we have some risk analysis methodology. So there are like various methodologies that have been adopted. Okay. But you can see here, like, it has been divided into 3 cases: a quantitative risk analysis, qualitative risk analysis, quantitative risk analysis, and pseudo quantitative risk analysis. So first, let us check the publicly available risk assessment standards. So you can see like this risk management basically is a key aspect of any program. So you for any program you need a risk management process. So these are some of the publicly available ones. The foremost used one is the ISO IEC 31. These are the normal standards. Okay, this is a risk management standard. The first one ISO IEC 31000 2009. So this is the year in which it was introduced. Sorry. So basically it will include all the risk management process, implementation principles and the guidelines, and also it will include the risk management and risk assessment techniques and risk management vocabulary. What do you mean by the risk management vocabulary is that some words will be specially stored for this standards. Okay, basically this is an ISO standard of for risk management. I think by now you are clear. All these are standards, right? ISO. Even if any material you use, any things you are using, you can find whether it is ISO certified, certifications are there. So for this also it is an ISO standard. So basically the purpose of the standard is to provide the guiding principles for risk management. So there all these things like if certain risk arises, so what is the measure you can take. So all these things are written in this ISO IEC 3100 2009. Okay, next is the ISO IEC 31010 2009. So again, this contains of the risk assessment technique. So basically the objective is to provide the information on the selection of the application of the risk assessment techniques. So here like how there are various standards for like this risk assessment techniques. So we can think like of the brainstorming, then Delphi method is there. We'll obviously discuss of these methods. Then hazard and operability study, hazard analysis, then structured what if techniques, root cause analysis, uh, then cost benefit analysis. All these things are there. Then we have the NIST and NIST 839, that is the information managing information security risk. So I think you people have studied this in module 4 of like if you have studied the cloud computing. So in the introduction to in cloud computing also this NIST is mentioned. Basically it's a document which is published by the US Department of Commerce. So the purpose of this of this publication is to provide an organization-wide integrated program for managing the information security risk. So all this like how you will manage the information risk regarding any organization is mentioned in this NIST 800. So basically it was developed in response to the Federal Information Security Management Act. Next, again, we have this next standard. It's the NIST 830, that is the guide for risk assessment. So you can just from the word itself, it's very clear that it's a again for conduct. It basically contains the guidelines for conducting the risk assessment. So obviously, and it was also developed by the US Department of Commerce. Okay, and it was a better version like all these things the same thing. It was for managing the information security risk, and it was done for guide of conducting the risk assessment. Okay. Next we have the COVID 5 for risk. So COVID 5 is again a standard we have studied which one we have studied in the first chapter. Yes, Kanika, you have question? Okay. Okay, and then we have the wait, next we have the COVID 5 for risk. So it is also we have the COSO enterprise risk management. enterprise risk management. This is basically nothing but all the standards. Okay, this is publicly available risk assessment standards. So these are some of the standards I just mentioned. So we have this ISO IEC 31000 2009. Again, it was again one ISO IEC standard is there 31010 2009, and it is the NIST 839 and NIST 830. We have COVID 5 for risk and COSO enterprise risk management. Yeah. Now moving to the quantitative risk analysis. So basically this the qualitative risk analysis. So basically this is more subjective in nature. So it is basically scenario based, and in the and no numerical values will be associated. So when we will prefer this qualitative risk analysis, right? When the task is quite normal and non-controversial. Okay, so we are like there is no high risk involved in it, then we can go for this qualitative risk analysis. Also, when there is lack of time or maybe data, then or expertise, so we can go for this qualitative. So when the main risks are highly unlikely to occur, the end result will not change. It does. Also, the cost of performing other type of risk is uh, prohibitively expensive. So when this is expensive, we can like go for, because this quantitative and pseudo quantitative are comparatively like on the higher side. So we can go for the qualitative risk analysis because it is comparatively less costly. And this quantitative risk analysis is likely to yield inclusive results, inconclusive results. So we go for this qualitative risk analysis. Now, how can you achieve this qualitative risk analysis? So by brainstorming session, because in brainstorming session you get new ideas, which helps in identifying the new risk, and also by interviewing. So it will basically it help in identifying the risk by talking to the experts, right? Because experts can give their idea based on their experience, and also expert elicitation, because it will help in categorizing the uncertainty. So once the risks are identified, the you can analyze the risk and determine the probability and the impact of the risk. Right? First, the main purpose is to identify the risk. Once the risk we have identified, you can easily like analyze it and find the impact on the level of it. Next, we have the quantitative risk analysis. So basically, it is also known as this quantitative risk analysis is also known as the this quantitative risk analysis is also known as the probabilistic risk analysis. So here all the assets and the components are associated with some numerical. So since it is quantitative, so you can assign some numeric value to it, right? To the and the potential losses. So like or any elements values you take, like the asset value, threat frequency, then the efficiency of security, safeguards. So all this like will will be associated with a value. Your assets will be assigned to some value. Then what is the threat to it will be assigned to a value. So all this method is referred to as the quantitative risk analysis. Okay, you can also call this method as the probabilistic risk analysis. Now, probabilistic risk analysis answers the three basic questions. Okay, the first question is like, what is wrong with the asset or the entity in question, or what is the trigger for the risk event? Okay, so you have to think about like what is the wrong with the asset or the entity in question. Next is, what is the impact of the occurrence of the system, okay, of the risk event on the asset. Okay, we have to find the impact of it, and the last one is the probability of occurrence. So what is the probability of the occurrence of the risk event? So you have to think in that manner. This was all about the quantitative risk analysis. Next, we have the qualitative and quantitative risk analysis. So you can see that you can find the difference here also. This qualitative risk analysis, it's more subjective in nature. Like it will be more descriptive, like and it will like explain you what is the impact of the list. And quantitative, it like it will add, just now we have said, it will add a numeric value to it. And this qualitative risk analysis will be scenario based. So based on the situation, it will be having the risk. So it can like come in any sense, right? At any time, unexpected risk. So in that scenario, what we need to adopt the measure is the qualitative risk analysis. Then we have the assessor will answer what if types of question for the various threat and vulnerability scenarios. Just I said to you, I said that this kind of risk, since it is scenario based, so we have to like take the measure beforehand. We don't know like when suddenly the fire broke up in our organization, then what the measure should be taken, right? We should think of it in the earlier. These are basically scenario based, just the lab example I gave. So all these things are scenario based and no numerical values will be associated. Since it is qualitative risk analysis, the no numeric values will be associated with it. It is just like it will be an explanation, so it is more subjective in nature. That means people will explain such kind of list. You cannot impact, like you cannot level them as a number. Okay, next one is the quantitative risk analysis. So here obviously quantitative, so you can find that it's a number associated with it. So all the assets or components are associated with numerical and their potential losses. So all these values will be at having some your assets will be calculated in terms of the number. Okay, and the potential losses you can have. Suppose what are the assets you have and the what are the like losses that may be that may be possible in those assets. So are given some numerical value. So all elements like the just I was mentioning the asset value, threat frequency, efficiency of security and safeguards, cost of implementing security and safeguards, uncertainty and probability will be associated with the value. So all these assets we are talking about, these components means these are the components, right? Threat frequency, efficiency of security, safeguards, all this falls under the component part of the quantitative risk analysis. So you can see here which are the three main risk analysis methodologies are there. Just one now we have studied, it's the qualitative risk analysis, quantitative risk analysis, and pseudo quantitative risk analysis, right? I think these two are repeated. Okay, A, B is repeated. Now, which of the following is the ISO standard for risk management? So one is which of the following is the ISO 31000 It's the ISO standard for risk management. Next is the ISO 3100-2009 is a certification standard. This statement is obviously true, right? So this was all about I wanted to discuss. Now you have any confusion about the risk analysis part, quantitative and qualitative risk, please ask me. I have not explained you about the pseudo quantitative risk today. Any confusion? Yes, any confusion? Okay, just a one announcement. Tomorrow we have a class at 11:15. So I want you people to please study module 1. Okay, the entire module 1, so that we can have a discussion. So tomorrow I'll be asking you questions and you are going to answer me. And I request everyone to be present, because I am not sure like how much is going into your head, whether you are opening the materials or not. Just I want to know about it. Please go through, and it's high time that you open your like books, laptop, and everything. You start studying. Okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So you all can leave now. Okay. Disperse from my side. Please remember tomorrow you need to study. Okay. Yeah. You all can leave now.